Chapter 1. Rock Bottom. Troy Waller pressed his forehead against the cold steering wheel of his 2009 Honda Civic, watching his breath fog the windshield. 45 years old, and this was home now. The Walmart parking lot on Highway 92, third row from the back, where security didn't patrol as frequently. It had been 4 months since the divorce finalized. For months since Vanessa walked away with the house, the savings, and his dignity. The California courts had been merciless. No-fault divorce, they called it, but Troy knew whose fault it really was. He adjusted the blanket around his shoulders, the same navy blue fleece they'd bought together at Costco 3 years ago. Everything reminded him of before. Before he'd come home early from the construction site to find Vanessa in their bed with Gerard Cunningham, his former business partner. Before the lawyers and the lies. Before Gerard's expensive attorney had painted Troy as an unstable, controlling husband while Gerard sat there in his $1,000 suit, playing the concerned family friend. Troy's phone buzzed, 2% battery left. A text from his foreman. Can't keep holding your position. Need to know by Monday if you're coming back. His hands were healing slowly. The accident at the site hadn't been his fault, but without insurance, the emergency room bill had consumed what little savings the divorce hadn't taken. He'd missed 2 weeks of work. Now even that was slipping away. His stomach growled. He'd eaten half a gas station sandwich 12 hours ago, saving the other half for tomorrow. The math was simple. $23 in his account, a quarter tank of gas, and nowhere to go. Through the rearview mirror, Troy caught his reflection. Stubble darkened his jaw, his eyes sunken and bloodshot. He barely recognized himself. A year ago, he'd been running his own small construction company with Gerard. They'd been friends since high school, built their business from nothing. Troy handled the crews and the builds. Gerard managed the books and client relations. Then came the expansion proposal. Gerard had wanted to partner with some developers on a strip mall project. Big money, big risk. Troy had hesitated, wanted to see the contracts first, do proper due diligence. They'd argued. Gerard had called him small-minded, afraid of success. 2 weeks later, Troy found Gerard in his bed. The divorce proceedings revealed that Gerard had been siphoning money from their business for months, cooking the books. By the time Troy discovered it, Gerard had dissolved their partnership and started his own firm, taking their biggest clients with him. Vanessa filed for divorce the same day, claiming Troy's financial instability and aggressive behavior when he'd confronted Gerard. The court had seen a failed businessman with anger issues. Gerard's attorney had brought up the shouting match at the office, the broken desk lamp, the threatening emails demanding answers about the missing money. Context didn't matter. Evidence of embezzlement didn't matter. Gerard had covered his tracks too well, and his lawyer was better. Now, for months later, Gerard Cunningham lived in a new McMansion in Belmont Hills with Vanessa as his fiancée. They'd gotten engaged 6 weeks after the divorce finalized. The speed of it all had confirmed what Troy suspected. The affair had been going on much longer than he'd realized. Troy pulled out the crumpled invitation from his glove compartment, running his thumb over the embossed letters. Gerard Cunningham and Vanessa Myers request the pleasure of your company at their wedding celebration. It had arrived at his mother's address, the last place his mail forwarded before even she'd stopped returning his calls, convinced by Vanessa's tears and Gerard's concerned phone calls that Troy had become unstable. The invitation was meant to twist the knife, and it worked. The wedding was in 3 weeks. Gerard would stand at the altar with everything Troy had built, everything Troy had loved. A tap on the window jolted Troy from his thoughts. Chapter 2. The Stranger. Troy's heart hammered as he peered through the condensation-streaked glass. An older man stood in the dim parking lot light, maybe 70, dressed in an expensive wool coat despite the mild California evening. His silver hair was immaculately combed, and even through the window, Troy could see the shine of polished Italian shoes. The man tapped again, more insistently. Troy cracked the window an inch. I'm not looking for trouble. Just trying to sleep. Troy Waller. The man's voice was raspy, strained. Troy's hand instinctively went to the door lock. Who's asking? I need. The man swayed, catching himself on the car door. I need a driver. I'll pay you. $100. Just get me to Mercy General Hospital. Troy studied the man's face. Sweat beaded his forehead, and his breathing came in short gasps. His left hand clutched his chest, the universal sign of a heart attack. You need an ambulance, not a driver. No ambulance. The man's knees buckled. Please. My briefcase, in the Mercedes. He gestured weakly toward a black S-Class parked crooked across two spaces. $100. Cash. Just drive. Troy hesitated. Every instinct screamed this was trouble. But $100 was gas, food, maybe enough to get back on his feet for a week. And the man was clearly dying. Get in, Troy said, unlocking the passenger door. The man collapsed into the seat with a groan. Troy ran to the Mercedes, found the briefcase on the driver's seat, and grabbed it. The car was still running, keys in the ignition. He debated for half a second before returning to his Civic. Mercy General, the man gasped as Troy started the engine. 20 minutes, northwest. Troy pulled out of the parking lot, merging onto the highway. The man's breathing grew more labored with each mile. What's your name? Troy asked, partly to keep the man conscious, partly to have something to tell the ER. Douglas. The man coughed. Douglas McLaughlin. The name meant nothing to Troy. He pressed harder on the gas, weaving through late-night traffic. My briefcase, Douglas wheezed. Open it. I'm driving. We're almost there. Open it. Douglas's voice cracked with urgency. Please. Troy glanced at the briefcase wedged between them. With one hand on the wheel, he popped the latches. Inside, he found neatly organized files, a leather portfolio, and a thick envelope marked Last Will and Testament. Douglas James McLaughlin. The envelope, Douglas said. Take it out. Troy pulled it free, nearly dropping it as he swerved around a slow-moving truck. Inside, a contract and a letter. Douglas's eyes locked onto Troy's profile with desperate intensity. Sign the contract. Before I die. Please. I'm not signing anything while driving. Douglas's hand shot out with surprising strength, grabbing Troy's wrist. You have no idea who I am. What this means. His grip tightened. Your mother. Barbara Waller, maiden name Kemp. Your father. Listed as unknown on your birth certificate. Troy's blood ran cold. How do you? Because I'm your father, Troy. And in 10 minutes, I'm going to be dead. That contract makes you sole heir to $138 million. The Civic swerved. Troy barely corrected in time, his mind reeling. You're insane. My father. Left before you were born. I know. I made that choice. Douglas coughed, blood flecking his lips. Worst decision of my life. I've watched you from afar. The business you built. The man you became. I know what Gerard Cunningham did to you. I know about Vanessa. Troy's hands shook on the steering wheel. This is some kind of scam. Read the first page. Your full name. Your birth date. Your mother's name. Your son's name. Troy's chest constricted. I don't have a son. Vanessa was 3 months pregnant when she filed for divorce. She didn't tell you. She's telling everyone it's Gerard's. The world tilted. Troy pulled into the hospital emergency entrance with a screech of tires. Sign it, Douglas gasped, pressing a pen into Troy's hand. Everything I built, it's yours. My lawyers know. This contract makes it legal. Sign it before I die, or it all goes to the state. Troy stared at the document. His name printed in bold. Legal language he barely understood. A signature line at the bottom. Why? Troy's voice cracked. Why now? Why me? Douglas's eyes softened. Because I was you once. Betrayed. Broken. I clawed my way back. Built an empire. But I did it alone, bitter, with no one to leave it to. I won't let my son end up like me, sleeping in cars, destroyed by lesser men. Troy looked at the hospital doors, then at the dying man beside him, then at the contract. His hand moved. The pen touched paper. He signed. Douglas exhaled, something like peace crossing his face. Good. Now, call the lawyers. Number in the portfolio. They'll guide you. And Troy, make them pay. Make them all pay. Troy burst through the ER doors, shouting for help. Nurses rushed out with a gurney. But as they loaded Douglas onto it, Troy could see the truth in their practiced, urgent movements becoming slower, more resigned. Douglas McLaughlin died at 11:47 p.m., never making it past the ER intake. Troy stood in the harsh fluorescent lighting, briefcase in hand, a signed contract making him one of the wealthiest men in California, and no idea what happened next. Chapter 3, The Reading. The law offices of Mercer, Holloway & Associates occupied the entire 23rd floor of a downtown high-rise. Troy had never been in a building this nice, let alone an office suite where the waiting room furniture probably cost more than his car. Philip Mercer himself had called Troy at 7 a.m., 3 days after Douglas's death. "Mr. Waller, we need to meet immediately. Matters regarding your inheritance are time-sensitive." Now Troy sat across from Mercer, a silver-haired man in his 60s wearing a suit that probably cost $5,000, and felt completely out of his depth. He'd showered at a Planet Fitness, put on his least wrinkled shirt, but still looked like what he was, a homeless man playing dress-up. "I've reviewed the contract you signed," Mercer said, sliding his reading glasses up his nose. "It's legally binding. Witnessed by hospital security cameras, signed in extremis, which California law recognizes." However, he paused meaningfully. "There are conditions." Troy leaned forward. "What kind of conditions?" Mercer opened a thick folder. Douglas McLaughlin spent 40 years building McLaughlin Holdings, a privately held real estate and investment empire. Upon his death, per his will, the entire estate transfers to you with 3 stipulations. He slid a document across the desk. "First, you must complete a 30-day waiting period before accessing the full inheritance. During this time, you'll receive a living stipend of $10,000 per week and temporary housing at a property owned by the estate." Troy's mind spun. $10,000 a week was more than he'd made in months before the divorce. "Second," Mercer continued, "you must attend 5 scheduled meetings with the company's board of directors and key partners. Douglas wanted you fully briefed on the business before taking control. These meetings begin next week." "And the third condition?" Mercer's expression darkened. "You must successfully navigate a complication." Douglas was in the middle of a significant business deal when he died. The deal involves property rights to a 60-acre development site in Belmont Hills. The contracts are contingent on Douglas's personal guarantee. His death technically voids the deal unless his heir, you, chooses to honor it within 30 days. Troy's pulse quickened. "Belmont Hills. That's where Gerard Cunningham recently purchased property?" "Yes." Mercer slid another document forward. "Cunningham's new construction company is the primary contractor on the development deal. He doesn't know Douglas McLaughlin had a son. He doesn't know you exist. But if you honor the deal, you'll be his boss. The contract gives you authority to approve all project decisions, including hiring and firing contractors." Troy stared at the papers, pieces clicking into place. Douglas knew. He knew about Gerard. "Douglas knew everything about your life, Mr. Waller. He'd been watching for years. When Gerard destroyed your business and stole your wife, Douglas began investigating. He discovered Gerard's been cutting corners, using substandard materials, bribing inspectors. But Gerard's contracts are ironclad, and his lawyer, Lawrence Holloway, is exceptionally skilled at protecting his clients." Troy looked up sharply. "Holloway? As in Holloway from your firm's name?" Mercer's jaw tightened. "Lawrence left our firm 3 years ago after ethical disagreements. He now operates independently, primarily representing Gerard Cunningham. Douglas specifically chose our firm because he knew we'd take pleasure in watching Holloway lose." "There's more," Mercer said. "The Belmont Hills development includes 50 residential units. Gerard has already pre-sold 30 of them, including the model home he's planning to move into with Vanessa after their wedding. The wedding, I believe, is in 2.5 weeks." Troy nodded slowly, his mind racing. "If you choose to honor the development deal, you control everything. The timeline, the specifications, the inspections. Gerard has leveraged everything on this project. He's taken out loans against future profits, spent his pre-sold deposits on that model home and wedding expenses. If the deal falls apart, he's bankrupt. And if I don't honor the deal, then it collapses anyway. Gerard loses everything, and you walk away with $138 million free and clear." Mercer leaned back. "Douglas's will contains a personal letter for you. Would you like to read it now?" Troy accepted the sealed envelope with trembling hands. Inside, Douglas's handwriting was surprisingly elegant. "Troy, if you're reading this, I'm gone. Good. I was a coward for 46 years, and death is a small price for abandoning you and your mother. I made my fortune through ruthlessness, not virtue. I destroyed men who wronged me. I built empires on the rubble of their failures. It's a hollow victory when you have no one to share it with. But you built something real. A business with your hands. A marriage you believed in. You fought fair in an unfair world, and they destroyed you for it. I'm giving you a choice I never had. The resources to destroy your enemies the way they destroyed you. Gerard Cunningham is a con artist and a thief. Vanessa is a liar and an opportunist. They deserve what's coming. But make them destroy themselves. Don't just crush them. Make them understand who you are. Make them regret every betrayal. Use their own greed and cruelty against them. The money is yours regardless. But the real inheritance is this, the power to make them pay. Your father, Douglas. Troy read it twice, then looked up at Mercer. When do I start? Chapter 4, Enter the Game. Troy stood in the penthouse apartment overlooking San Francisco Bay, still not quite believing it was his, at least for the next 30 days. The furniture was modern and expensive, the kitchen stocked, the closets filled with clothes in his size. Douglas had thought of everything. His new phone buzzed. Philip Mercer. First board meeting tomorrow, 9 a.m. Car will pick you up at 8:30. Dress is business formal. Troy opened the closet where tailored suits hung in a row. Every price tag had been removed, but he could guess they cost more than he used to make in a month. Douglas had literally provided everything, down to Italian leather shoes and silk ties. The transformation felt surreal. 3 days ago, he'd been sleeping in a Walmart parking lot. Now he stood in a multi-million-dollar apartment, technically the owner of an empire, but also aware it could all vanish if he misstepped during the 30-day waiting period. His phone buzzed again. Unknown number. Troy, it's your mother. We need to talk. I've been trying to reach you. He deleted it without responding. Barbara Waller had believed Vanessa's lies, had sided with Gerard, had told him to get help when he'd tried to explain the truth. She'd made her choice. Another text arrived, this time from a number he recognized. Casey Simons, one of his old crew foremen, one of the few who'd stayed loyal after everything fell apart. Man, heard you came into some money. True, because I got screwed by Cunningham too. He owes me $8,000 in back pay. If you're looking to hire. Troy smiled. Here was an opportunity. He typed back, come to 5800 Market Street, Penthouse. Tomorrow 6 p.m. Job interview. Bring documentation of what Gerard owes you. The next morning, Troy barely recognized himself in the bathroom mirror. The haircut, the shave, the expensive suit. He looked like someone who belonged in boardrooms. The transformation was only surface deep, but it was a start. The McLaughlin Holdings building was downtown, a gleaming tower of steel and glass. Troy's stomach churned as the car pulled up. He was about to meet the people who'd helped Douglas build his empire. The boardroom was intimidating. 20 feet of polished mahogany table, floor-to-ceiling windows, 7 executives in expensive suits watching him with varying degrees of skepticism. Philip Mercer made introductions. Troy Waller, meet your board. To your left, Nathaniel McIntyre, Chief Financial Officer. Next to him, Damon Norton, VP of Development. Across from you, Dana Harper, Head of Legal Affairs. Ian Spencer, VP of Operations. And via video conference, our Hong Kong office, Roy Gordon and Hugh Kemp, managing our Asian holdings. Troy nodded to each, feeling their assessment like physical weight. Nathaniel McIntyre spoke first, his tone professional but cool. Mr. Waller, we're all aware you signed your contract under unusual circumstances. Before we proceed, we need to understand your intentions. Douglas built this company over 4 decades. Do you plan to honor his legacy, or liquidate and walk away? Troy met his gaze steadily. I plan to learn, then decide. Not good enough, Damon Norton cut in. He was younger, maybe 40, with the aggressive posture of someone who'd clawed his way up. We have investors, partners, ongoing projects worth hundreds of millions. We need commitment, not maybes. What you need, Troy said quietly, is the person who controls your paychecks. That's me now. So here's what we're going to do. You're going to teach me everything about this company. Every deal, every contract, every skeleton in every closet. And I'm going to decide what happens next. We clear. Silence fell. Then Dana Harper laughed. A genuine, surprised sound. I like him. He's got Douglas's spine. Nathaniel's expression softened slightly. Fair enough. Let's start with the Belmont Hills development, since that's our most pressing issue. For the next 3 hours, they walked Troy through the intricacies. McLaughlin Holdings had purchased the 60-acre site 2 years ago for $40 million. Douglas had planned a mixed-use development, residential units, retail space, and a community center. Gerard Cunningham's company had won the construction contract through a competitive bid. Technically legitimate, though Troy suspected Douglas had manipulated it specifically. Here's the problem. Dana Harper explained. Gerard's contract has a completion clause. If the project isn't finished on schedule, he faces massive penalties. But the contract also gives him control over subcontractors and materials suppliers as long as he meets code. Douglas was about to implement new oversight protocols when he died. What kind of protocols? Troy asked. Random quality inspections. Third-party materials verification. The kind of scrutiny that would expose any corner cutting. Dana slid a file across the table. We found evidence Gerard's been using unapproved materials on his other projects. Cheap drywall, substandard electrical. Nothing that would fail initial inspection, but things that cause problems down the road. Troy opened the file. Photographs, supplier invoices with suspicious pricing, inspector reports that had been altered. This is fraud. Provable fraud, Dana confirmed. But only if we implement the oversight on the Belmont Hills project and catch him in the act. The evidence from his other projects isn't strong enough. He covered his tracks too well. So we trap him, Troy said slowly. Let him think everything's proceeding normally. Implement the oversight without announcing it. Catch him using the cheap materials, then expose him. Nathaniel McIntyre nodded approvingly. That would void his contract, cost him the project, and potentially expose him to criminal charges. But there's risk. If he's learned his lesson and actually plays by the rules, we have no case. He hasn't learned anything, Troy said. Gerard Cunningham thinks he's untouchable. He's spending money he doesn't have on a model home and a wedding. He's desperate to finish this project fast and cheap so he can flip it for maximum profit. Damon Norton leaned forward. You know him well. He was my business partner. My best friend since high school. I know exactly how he thinks. Then let's set the trap, Dana Harper said. But we need to be careful. Gerard's lawyer, Lawrence Holloway, is excellent. He'll fight any attempt to void the contract. Troy smiled for the first time since entering the room. Let him try. Chapter 5, The Setup. Over the next week, Troy learned to inhabit his new role. The board meetings continued, each one revealing more about Douglas's empire and more about the trap Douglas had laid for Gerard. Casey Simons became Troy's first hire, officially as a construction oversight consultant, unofficially as his eyes and ears on the Belmont Hills project. Casey knew Gerard's methods, knew which corners he'd cut, and was hungry for payback. The wedding's in 10 days, Casey said during their evening meeting at the penthouse. Gerard's nervous. I've got a friend still working for him. Says Gerard's pushing everyone to finish the model home early. He's cutting inspection schedules, rushing the electrical work. Troy studied the project timeline on his laptop. The electrical is where he'll cheat. It's the most expensive part and the easiest to hide if you know what you're doing. We need someone inside, Casey said. Someone who can document everything without Gerard knowing. Troy thought for a moment. What about Corey Glass? He used to do electrical work for our old company. Gerard fired him last year over some dispute. Glass hates Cunningham's guts, Casey confirmed. But Gerard will recognize him. Not if we place him with the inspection team. Troy pulled up another file. Dana Harper's arranging for enhanced inspections. We request Corey specifically as an independent electrician to verify code compliance. Gerard can't refuse without looking suspicious. The plan came together piece by piece. Corey Glass would document every shortcut, every code violation, every illegal material. But they needed more. They needed Gerard to incriminate himself beyond any legal defense. That's when Troy had the idea that would make it personal. Vanessa, he said aloud. She's the key. Casey looked confused. Your ex-wife? How? She doesn't know about the inheritance yet. No one does except the board and the lawyers. Vanessa thinks I'm still homeless, still broken. What if she got a message from me? Something desperate, maybe threatening. She'd run straight to Gerard and that lawyer, Casey said, understanding dawning. They'd document everything, maybe even try to get a restraining order. Make you look unstable. Exactly. Which establishes their mindset. They think I'm the threat, they're the victims. They won't see the real attack coming. That's cold, man. You sure you want to poke that bear? Troy remembered the invitation to their wedding, the speed with which Vanessa had moved on, the lie about the pregnancy. I'm sure. He composed the email carefully, making it sound desperate and slightly unhinged. Vanessa, I know you're getting married. I know you're pregnant with his child. I know you think you've won. You took everything from me. My business, my home, my reputation. You and Gerard destroyed my life and didn't look back. I'm living in my car. I lost my job. I have nothing. But I want you to know I'm not going away. I'll be around. I'll be watching. You can't erase me. I hope you're happy. I hope the guilt keeps you awake at night. Troy. He sent it from a burner email account. Untraceable, but clearly from him based on the content. Then he waited. It took 6 hours. Philip Mercer called him personally. Troy, I just received a call from Lawrence Holloway. He claims you've been harassing his clients. He's threatening legal action. What kind of harassment? He wouldn't specify, but he wants a meeting. Tomorrow, his office. He says if you don't show up, he's filing for a restraining order against you on behalf of Vanessa Myers and Gerard Cunningham. Tell him I'll be there. Troy said. With my attorney. Mercer paused. You want me there? Absolutely. I want Lawrence Holloway to understand exactly who he's dealing with. The meeting was set for 2 p.m. the next day. Troy spent the morning preparing, reviewing every detail of Gerard's construction contracts, every piece of evidence they'd gathered. This wasn't just about the Belmont Hills project anymore. This was about making them squirm. Lawrence Holloway's office was predictably ostentatious. Modern art on the walls, a view of the bay, furniture that screamed success. Holloway himself was in his 50s, tanned and fit, with the predatory smile of a lawyer who rarely lost. Gerard and Vanessa were already there. Gerard looked confident in another expensive suit. Vanessa wore designer clothes that showed off her slight baby bump, her engagement ring catching the light, easily 3 carats. The moment Troy walked in with Philip Mercer, the dynamic shifted. Gerard's confidence faltered. Mercer? What are you doing with him? Representing my client, Mercer said smoothly, setting his briefcase on the conference table. Mr. Waller retained our firm recently regarding several legal matters. Vanessa's eyes narrowed. How can you afford Philip Mercer? You're homeless. Troy smiled, saying nothing. Lawrence Holloway cleared his throat. Let's get to the point. Mr. Waller, you sent a threatening email to Ms. Myers. That constitutes harassment. Given your documented history of aggressive behavior, we're prepared to seek a restraining order unless you agree to cease all contact. May I see this threatening email? Mercer asked. Holloway slid a printout across the table. Mercer read it, then looked at Troy with carefully hidden amusement. Mr. Waller, did you send this email? I sent an email expressing my feelings about the end of my marriage. If that's illegal, I wasn't aware. It's harassment, Gerard snapped. You're obsessed with Vanessa. You can't let go. Actually, Mercer interrupted, it's protected speech. Crude and emotional, certainly, but not threatening. It contains no threats of violence, no explicit harassment, no contact information requesting a response. It's simply a man expressing his pain. Holloway's jaw tightened. The tone clearly implies nothing that would hold up in court, Mercer said. But since we're all here, let's discuss the real issue. My client has recently come into significant resources. We've been reviewing several business arrangements involving Mr. Cunningham, and we have concerns. Gerard went pale. What kind of concerns? The Belmont Hills development, for one. My client has interest in that project. We'll be conducting enhanced quality assurance inspections. I trust that won't be a problem. Lawrence Holloway's expression turned calculating. What kind of interests? Mercer smiled. The kind that make Mr. Waller very invested in ensuring the project meets all legal standards. Now, unless you have actual grounds for a restraining order, which we both know you don't, I suggest we end this meeting. Mr. Waller will not contact Ms. Myers again, and Mr. Cunningham will ensure his construction project proceeds with absolute transparency. They left them sitting there, stunned and confused. In the elevator, Mercer chuckled. That was bold. You just announced you're coming after them without revealing how. Let them panic, Troy said. Panic makes people sloppy. His phone buzzed. A text from Corey Glass. I'm in. Start inspection Monday. You were right. They're already using cheap wire. This is going to be easy. Troy smiled. Phase 2 begins. Chapter 6. The Wedding Gift. 6 days before Gerard and Vanessa's wedding, Troy stood in the half-finished model home at Belmont Hills, watching Corey Glass document the violations with a hidden camera. Look at this, Corey said, pointing to an exposed wall. They're using aluminum wiring instead of copper. It's not technically illegal in California, but it's dangerous as hell and way cheaper. The code requires proper labeling and specific connection methods. They're skipping both. Casey Simons checked his clipboard. That's violation number 14. We've also got substandard insulation, unapproved drywall compounds, and a HVAC system that's underpowered for the square footage. Is it enough? Troy asked. To void the contract? Absolutely, Casey confirmed. To press criminal charges? Maybe. Depends on if we can prove Gerard knew about it. He knew, Troy said. He always knows. He just doesn't care because he thinks his lawyer will protect him. Dana Harper arrived in a sleek BMW, surveying the construction site with a practiced eye. The inspection report will be filed Monday. That gives Gerard 48 hours to remediate all violations. If he can't, the contract voids and he owes McLaughlin Holdings the penalty, $12 million. He doesn't have $12 million, Troy said. He's leveraged everything on Prezold units and that wedding. I know, Dana said with a sharp smile. But here's the beautiful part. The penalty clause doesn't just void his contract. It makes him liable for project delays. Every buyer who Prezold a unit can sue him for breach of contract. The cascade effect will destroy him financially. Troy felt the weight of it, the perfect trap closing around Gerard. But something nagged at him. It's not enough. He'll find a way to weasel out, blame his subcontractors, pay some fines, and move on. I want him ruined. Completely. What did you have in mind? Dana asked. Troy thought about Douglas's letter. Make them destroy themselves. The wedding. It's at the Belmont Country Club, right? Casey nodded. Fancy place. Gerard's been bragging about it for months. 200 guests, live band, champagne fountains. He's spending at least $100 grand. Who's catering? Some high-end company. What? Troy pulled out his phone, calling Philip Mercer. I need you to find out everything about Gerard's wedding. Vendors, contracts, deposits. Everything. Planning to crash it? Mercer asked dryly. No. Planning to ruin it. Legally. It took Dana Harper 3 days to unravel Gerard's wedding arrangements. The results were even better than Troy hoped. Gerard put down $30,000 in deposits, Dana reported. But here's the interesting part. He used funds from the Belmont Hills project, specifically from the Prezold unit deposits that were supposed to be held in escrow. Troy's eyes widened. That's illegal. Very. It's commingling of funds and breach of fiduciary duty. If the buyers find out, they can sue him personally. But it gets better. Dana slid another document across the table. Gerard also took out a personal loan using the model home as collateral. The home he doesn't actually own yet because the project isn't complete. The loan was for $200,000, and he used it to pay for the wedding and Vanessa's ring. Fraud, Troy said. Multiple counts. If we can prove it, Dana cautioned. And that's where it gets tricky. Gerard's lawyer probably structured it to look legitimate on paper. We need him to admit to it. Troy thought about Vanessa, about the baby, about the life they'd built together before Gerard destroyed it. An idea formed, dark and perfect. The baby, he said slowly. Vanessa told Gerard it's his. She told the courts it's his. But she was 3 months pregnant when she filed for divorce. Douglas mentioned it in his letter. Casey frowned. So what if Gerard isn't sure? What if someone planted doubt in his mind right before the wedding? Dana leaned back. That's psychological warfare. They destroyed my life with lies, Troy said. Time to return the favor. He composed another email, this time with careful precision. Not from a burner account, but from a generic Gmail address with no identifying information. Mr. Cunningham, you don't know me, but I know something you should know. Ask Vanessa about the timeline of her pregnancy. Ask her about the real date of conception. Ask her why Troy Waller might be the father of the child you think is yours. A concerned friend. He sent it Friday afternoon, 24 hours before the wedding. Then he waited. Saturday morning, Troy received a call from an unlisted number. He almost didn't answer. Troy, it was Vanessa. Her voice was shaking. We need to talk. Right now. I have nothing to say to you. Gerard got an email. He thinks the baby is yours. He's calling off the wedding. He's losing it, Troy. He's talking about suing you, about paternity tests, about. Is it mine? Troy asked quietly. Silence. Then, I don't know. Maybe. The timing. I didn't think it mattered because you and I were done anyway. But Gerard won't marry me if there's any doubt. And if this wedding doesn't happen, I can't afford. She stopped. Can't afford what, Vanessa? The model home. Gerard promised me the model home. But it's contingent on the wedding happening and the project succeeding. If this falls apart, I lose everything. Troy felt a cold satisfaction. Now you know how I felt. Goodbye, Vanessa. He hung up. 30 minutes later, Gerard Cunningham's lawyer called Philip Mercer demanding an emergency meeting. Troy agreed immediately. Chapter 7. The Unraveling. The emergency meeting took place Saturday afternoon in Lawrence Holloway's office. Gerard looked like he hadn't slept, his expensive suit rumpled, his eyes wild. Vanessa sat beside him, her face blotchy from crying. Troy entered with Philip Mercer and Dana Harper, both carrying thick files. The power dynamic had completely reversed from their last meeting. "Did you send that email?" Gerard demanded before Troy even sat down. "What email?" Troy asked innocently. "The one about the baby." About Vanessa lying about. Gerard caught himself, glancing at his lawyer. Lawrence Holloway held up a hand. "Let's all calm down. Mr. Cunningham received an anonymous email making allegations about paternity. He believes Mr. Waller sent it." "I didn't," Troy said, which was technically true. He'd sent it from an untraceable account. "But I'm curious why you're so worried, Gerard. If the baby's yours, what does it matter what some anonymous email says?" Vanessa's hands twisted in her lap. "Troy, please, just tell Gerard the truth. Tell him we hadn't been intimate in the months before the divorce." Troy met her eyes. "We were intimate 3 months before you filed for divorce. You remember? It was the night before I found you with Gerard." Gerard lunged across the table. Lawrence Holloway and Philip Mercer both jumped up, restraining him. "You did this," Gerard shouted. "You're trying to destroy my life." "Your life?" Troy's voice went cold. "You destroyed my business. You stole my wife. You took everything I built. Now you're upset because you might be raising my child." "Gentlemen," Dana Harper said calmly, opening her file. "Perhaps we should discuss the actual reason we're here. Mr. Cunningham, we've completed our quality inspections on the Belmont Hills project. The violations are extensive." She slid a thick report across the table. Lawrence Holloway grabbed it, his face darkening as he read. "Aluminum wiring, substandard materials, code violations in 14 different areas," Dana continued. "Per the contract, you have 48 hours to remediate. But given the scope, remediation is impossible. The entire electrical system needs to be redone. That's weeks of work and hundreds of thousands in costs." Gerard's face went white. "That's not. We followed code. Our inspectors approved everything." "Your inspectors," Dana interrupted, "were not certified by McLaughlin Holdings. Section 7.3 of your contract specifically requires independent verification for all major systems. You failed to obtain it. That's breach of contract." Lawrence Holloway was speed reading the report, his expression growing increasingly grim. "There might be grounds to negotiate a remediation plan." "There's more," Philip Mercer said, pulling out his own documents. "We've also discovered some interesting financial irregularities. Mr. Cunningham, can you explain why $30,000 from the Presold unit escrow account was transferred to your personal account and used for non-project expenses?" Gerard's hands started shaking. "Or," Mercer continued, "why you took out a personal loan using the model home as collateral when you don't actually own the property yet? That's fraud, Mr. Cunningham. Multiple counts. Criminal fraud." Lawrence Holloway stood. "This meeting is over. Gerard, don't say another word." "Sit down," Dana Harper said, her voice sharp. "We're not finished. Mr. Cunningham has 2 choices. Choice 1. We file criminal charges, void the contract, seize the model home to satisfy the penalty clause, and notify all Presold buyers that their deposits were misused. The cascade of lawsuits will bankrupt him and likely result in criminal prosecution." "What's choice 2? Holloway asked warily. Gerard signs over his entire stake in the Belmont Hills project to McLaughlin Holdings, admits to the violations, and agrees never to work in construction in California again. In exchange, we don't press charges, and we give him 1 week to vacate the model home before we sell it to recover our losses." Gerard looked physically ill. "I can't. The wedding's supposed to be tonight. The model home was going to be our." "There's not going to be a wedding," Troy said quietly. "Is there, Vanessa?" She was crying silently, mascara running down her face. "Everything you took from me," Troy continued, "you're losing now. The business, the house, the future you thought you'd stolen. All of it. You can't do this," Gerard whispered. "You were my best friend. We built that company together. And you destroyed it. You stole from me, slept with my wife, and then destroyed my reputation to cover your tracks. Now you're facing the consequences." Lawrence Holloway tried one more time. My client needs time to consult with other counsel. Your client has until Monday at 9 a.m. to sign the documents, Philip Mercer said. After that, we file criminal charges and let the prosecutors handle it. Your choice. They left Gerard and Vanessa in the conference room, surrounded by evidence of their crimes. In the elevator, Dana Harper smiled. That was very satisfying. It's not over yet, Troy said. Gerard's going to try something desperate. He always does. He was right. Chapter 8, Desperate Measures. Sunday morning, Troy received a call from Casey Simons, his voice urgent. Boss, we got a problem. Gerard showed up at the Belmont Hills site last night with a crew. They're trying to fix the violations. That's impossible. It's a 2-week job minimum. He's not really fixing them. He's covering them up, painting over exposed wiring, putting up drywall over the aluminum connections, making it look compliant without actually doing the work. Troy felt ice in his stomach. That's even more criminal than the original violations. But if we can't prove what he did, we can prove it, Casey interrupted. Corey's still got his cameras running. He documented everything last night. But Troy, this is dangerous. If Gerard succeeds and those homes sell, people could get hurt. House fires, electrical problems. We're talking about real harm. Troy made a decision. Call the city building inspector. Right now. Report anonymous code violations and dangerous construction practices. Get them out there before Gerard finishes his cover-up. That'll shut down the entire project. Good. Then nobody gets hurt, and Gerard can't hide what he's done. The city inspector arrived at Belmont Hills at 11 a.m., accompanied by a fire marshal after Casey's call mentioned electrical fire risks. What they found sent shockwaves through the local construction community. By Monday morning, the story was on the local news. Major construction violations found at luxury development. Gerard Cunningham's name was everywhere, along with photos of the shoddy workmanship. Troy watched the coverage from his penthouse, feeling vindicated but also strangely empty. The revenge was complete, but it didn't change what had been taken from him. Philip Mercer called at 8 a.m. Gerard's lawyer just contacted me. They want to meet. Gerard's ready to sign whatever we want. Tell them 9 a.m. My office. The McLaughlin Holdings boardroom felt different now. Troy was no longer the uncertain heir, but the man in charge. The board members watched approvingly as Gerard and Lawrence Holloway entered, defeated. Gerard had aged a decade in 2 days. His hair was disheveled, his suit wrinkled. He wouldn't meet Troy's eyes. The documents, Lawrence Holloway said flatly. Dana Harper slid the contract across the table. Gerard would surrender his stake in Belmont Hills, admit to the violations, pay a $50,000 fine to settle potential criminal charges, and accept a ban from construction work in California for 5 years. Gerard's hand shook as he signed. When it was done, he finally looked up at Troy. I don't understand. How did you? You were living in your car. You had nothing. I had nothing because you took everything, Troy said. But someone gave me a chance. Someone who knew what it was like to be betrayed, and who wanted to make sure I could fight back. Who? My father, Douglas McLaughlin. He left me this company, this empire, specifically so I could destroy you. Gerard's face went slack with shock. McLaughlin? You're his son. Surprise, Troy said coldly. Every step of this was planned. The development deal, the oversight, the inspection protocols. Douglas designed it all as a trap, and you walked right into it. That's insane, Gerard whispered. You orchestrated all of this just for revenge. No, Troy corrected. I orchestrated this for justice. There's a difference. Vanessa spoke for the first time. What about me? What happens to me? Troy looked at her. This woman he'd once loved. You get what you chose. A life with a disgraced, bankrupt ex-contractor and a baby who might not even be his. Enjoy it. She burst into tears. Lawrence Holloway gathered his papers. We're done here. Gerard, we need to discuss bankruptcy proceedings. As they left, Philip Mercer leaned over. The 30-day waiting period ends Friday. The inheritance becomes fully yours. Congratulations. Troy nodded, but felt no triumph. He'd won, but the victory tasted like ashes. Then his phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Mr. Waller, this is Dr. Bethany Choi from Mercy General Hospital. We need to discuss something regarding Douglas McLaughlin's death. Can you come in today? Troy's blood ran cold. I need to go to the hospital. Now. Chapter 9, The Last Truth. Dr. Bethany Choi was in her 40s, with kind eyes and a serious demeanor. She met Troy in a private consultation room at Mercy General. "Thank you for coming, Mr. Waller. I was Douglas McLaughlin's cardiologist. I need to tell you something that might be difficult. Was it really a heart attack?" "Yes and no." Dr. Choi pulled out a medical file. Douglas had severe coronary artery disease. He'd been my patient for 3 years. I told him repeatedly he needed surgery, but he refused. Said he was waiting for something. Waiting for what? To find you. Douglas spent years looking for his son. When he finally located you 6 months ago, he began monitoring your situation. He watched you lose your business, your marriage, everything. He told me he couldn't reveal himself until you hit absolute bottom. Troy felt sick. He wanted me to suffer? No. He wanted you to be ready. Dr. Choi's expression softened. Douglas said you had to lose everything to understand what he was giving you. If he'd approached you while you were successful, while you were happy, you would have rejected him. You needed to be desperate enough to sign that contract in a car outside this hospital. So he staged his own death. Not exactly. The heart attack was real, inevitable, given his condition. But Douglas knew it was coming. He'd refused treatment specifically because he wanted his death to coincide with giving you the inheritance. His lawyer confirmed it. The dramatic circumstances, the briefcase, the contract, it was all choreographed. Troy sat back, processing. He planned everything. Including Gerard Cunningham, Dr. Choi continued. Douglas didn't just watch you. He investigated everyone in your life. When Gerard started embezzling from your company, Douglas documented it. When the affair began, Douglas had it photographed. He built a complete dossier on Gerard's crimes. Why didn't he just give it to me before the divorce? I could have stopped Gerard. Because Douglas wanted you to learn what he'd learned. That justice isn't just about stopping people. It's about making them face consequences. He wanted you to have the power, the resources, and the motivation to destroy your enemies completely. Troy thought about Gerard's terrified face, Vanessa's tears, the empire he now controlled. He wanted me to become him. He wanted you to become better than him, Dr. Choi corrected. Douglas built his fortune on ruthlessness. He destroyed people who wronged him. Yes, but he also destroyed people who simply got in his way. He was brilliant, but cruel. He told me he didn't want you to make the same mistakes. She handed Troy another envelope. He left this for you, to be delivered after Gerard Cunningham's downfall. He predicted you'd feel empty after your revenge succeeded. Troy opened it with shaking hands. Troy, if you're reading this, Gerard is ruined and you're wealthy beyond imagination. You probably feel hollow. Revenge always does that. I gave you the tools to destroy your enemies, but that's not the real gift. The real gift is the choice of what to do next. I built an empire alone, bitter, with no one to share it with. I pushed away everyone who cared about me in pursuit of vengeance against everyone who'd ever wronged me. I won every battle and lost everything that mattered. You can be different. The 30-day waiting period isn't just about the inheritance. It's about giving you time to decide what kind of man you want to be. Rich and vengeful like me, or rich and purposeful like you could become. Here's my final piece of advice. Build something good with what I've given you. Hire people like Casey Simons who were wronged by men like Gerard. Help people who are where you were. Use this empire to create something that matters. Or don't. It's your money, your life, your choice. But know that I watched you for years before I chose you. You're a good man who got dealt bad cards. Don't let what happened to you turn you into what I became. I'm proud of you, son. I'm sorry I never got to know you. Your father, Douglas. Troy read it twice, tears blurring his vision. Dr. Choi quietly stood to leave, giving him privacy. Wait, Troy said. Did Douglas say anything? At the end. He said, I hope he's better than me. Dr. Choi smiled sadly. I think you are. Epilogue. Friday morning. Philip Mercer handed Troy the final documents. The 30-day waiting period had ended. McLaughlin Holdings was officially his, along with $138 million in assets. What are your plans? Mercer asked. Troy looked around the boardroom, at the executives who'd become his team, at the empire Douglas had built on ruthlessness and revenge. Changes, he said. I want to start a fund for people going through difficult divorces. Legal fees, housing assistance, job training. Nobody should have to sleep in their car like I did. Nathaniel McIntyre smiled. Douglas would approve. And I want to hire people Gerard screwed over. Every worker he stiffed, every contractor he cheated. McLaughlin Holdings is going to be known for treating people right. Dana Harper nodded. A different kind of legacy. The Belmont Hills project, Troy continued. I want to finish it. Properly. With quality materials and fair wages. And I want the first completed unit to go to someone who needs it, someone like I was. Casey Simons, now officially Vice President of Operations, grinned. Your dad would think you're soft. Maybe, Troy agreed. But he'd also say I'm better than him. His phone buzzed. A text from Vanessa. The baby's yours. DNA test confirmed it. Gerard left me. I have nowhere to go. Please. Troy stared at the message for a long moment. The old Troy, the broken, vengeful man who'd slept in his car, would have deleted it. Would have let her suffer the way she'd made him suffer. But Douglas's letter echoed in his mind. You're a good man who got dealt bad cards. Don't let what happened to you turn you into what I became. He typed back, I'll have my lawyer contact you about custody arrangements and child support. The child is innocent in all this. You and I are done, but I'll make sure my son or daughter is taken care of. He sent it, then blocked her number. You okay? Casey asked. Yeah, Troy said, looking around the boardroom at his new team, his new life, his new purpose. I'm better than okay. Through the window, San Francisco Bay sparkled in the morning sun. Troy thought about Douglas, about the stranger in the parking lot who'd given him everything. About revenge satisfied but not savored. About justice served but mercy offered. He'd been given the power to destroy his enemies. He'd used it. Now it was time to build something better. The empire was his. The choice was his. And for the first time since Vanessa walked out, Troy Waller smiled. Genuinely, fully, because he knew exactly what came next. Not revenge. Not bitterness. Not endless pursuit of payback. But purpose, legacy, redemption. Douglas had given him the tools to become a villain. Troy chose to become something better. This is where our story comes to an end. Share your thoughts in the comments section. Thanks for your time. If you enjoy this story, please subscribe to this channel. Click on the video you see on the screen, and I will see you there.